Good morning, board game geeks. This is Brian Hazard, and today I'm going to be doing a preview, actually more of a review, of the Anachrony Time Capsule by Meeple Realty. This is a wooden organizer insert for Anachrony by Mind Clash Games. This is an incredible game. It is a 4-player, 1 to 4 player, dystopian future worker placement game with a time travel mechanic. It is big and beautiful. It's got a lot of fantastic bits in it, which of course means it's a nightmare to store it in its original box. So Meeple Realty has come to the rescue, and they have the official Anachrony organizer. So I'm going to show you what's in here and what it looks like, and then I'm actually going to talk a little bit afterwards about what it took to get this together, because it was a much different experience than I've had when I put together Broken Tokens. Broken Token being sort of one of the most well-known game organizer makers. You'll see this is a sleeve I got for being a Kickstarter of the game, and this is what the game looks like if you buy it with, by retail. So let's open this bad boy up, and I'll show you what we got going on. Now, right here at the top, you'll see, and it is all the way up to the lip, by the way. This thing is really well designed, I want to say that. The engineering is so impressive on how they managed to do this. So, score pad's just right on top. There's no place for the score pad, so it's just kind of floating up there. But you'll see you've got the player boards here on top. It's kind of holding everything in place. There are 4 player boards here like that. Okay, and then right here on the side we have a tray for the breakthrough tokens. Okay, so you've got a spot for each one of the breakthrough tokens. You may not be able to see this. This may be a flaw in the way that I built it, but the breakthrough tokens tray is a little bit spinny. I can't blame that on them. That might be me. So you have the breakthrough tokens. Let's see if I can keep this on so you can see where I'm getting stuff from. Right here in the middle, then you have the main board for the game, and all of the books that come with it, which is the art and history, the rule book, and then the other rule book for the Doomsday, Pioneers of the New Earth, and Guardians of the Council module. This organizer is really designed for somebody who went all in, did the original, was a Kickstarter backer and got all of the extra pieces. If you didn't do that and you buy this retail, the big flaw, it's not really a flaw of the organizer, it's just the way it goes. This is similar with the Broken Token Blood Rage organizers, that there's going to be holders for things you don't own, and those holders are a necessary component of making sure everything stays in the box the way it's supposed to. So if you didn't kickstart it, you don't have the minis, you may not want to bother with the Meeple Realty Anachrony Time Capsule. So let me see if I can get you a look of what's going on here in the box at this point. When I take those books out, you'll see that I now the next thing in there is these rows of trays for all the different minis. So you'll see there are 5 of those, which take up a fair amount of room in the box. Using this requires that you take out the plastic insert that was originally in the box to hold all these guys. So there, you've got these 5 trays that hold all the minis. This is the first one that I made. I apparently did something wrong, so there's all sorts of problems where some of them are very loose and others are incredibly snug and have to sort of be wedged in and out. I think my issue is that I should not have glued the little teeth that hold them in. I did not glue. I glued just about everything for this and sanded. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so you have all the trays for the different minis. So those are there. Then you've got the Guardian board, goes there on the side and covers up the Pioneers of New Earth module. So this is cool. It's a card holder that has some legs on it that you can put like this, and then you can put it right there and you can play right out of it on the table. For the most part, everything they've done here is made it so that you can play right out of the box, which is very cool. So you've got this with the different cards. Also in the back, there's another card slot that holds the different boards that you use to represent the upgrades that you do to the mechs, the suits. by using this. So this is pretty cool. We got that. Then here there's a box to hold all of the spare resources. So with the Kickstarter version, there are cardboard resources for the cubes, and then there are really nice looking plastic cubes, which I'll show you in a second. I obviously prefer the plastic cubes, but if you want to use the cardboard cubes, you can. If you're colorblind, the cubes are similar in color and might give you trouble. But if you don't want to use the cardboard ones, they made this nice little box for you to be able to store them in when you're not using them. See, throw them on the ground. Okay. Oh man, they're going everywhere. So this is a spare resources holder, and the lid just, pops right on and off. Pops right on and off a little better with some sanding. Talk about that later. So you have that. You have another lovely card holder. This is for the Doomsday pack, which allows you to change the mechanics of the game. These are expansions, right? So they were included in the Kickstarter. So Pioneers of New Earth, that's an expansion. This is Doomsday is another expansion, and you'll see that that also has these lovely feet. It comes with all the hardware you need to make this happen, and that makes them sit nice and level on. Also, there's some chips required for this expansion, so they made a cool little chip holder right here in the middle to hold those bits in. There's a lot of this that I like. Let me say that, because I'm going to say some less nice things at the end of this, but I want to be balanced here and let you know that the design of this is incredible. They did fit everything in, and it's really cool. That part I really like. So there, that's another expansion. You've got a couple of boards here that are expansion boards. So this is the expansion board for Guardians, Pioneers of New Earth. This is expansion for the Doomsday module, and those fit in very nicely right here. Then you've got this box. It's funny that they made boxes in like 3 different varieties. They just said, well, we know other ways to make boxes, so let's do more than one. You've got just pull off the top box, and then you've got this box. This box is for holding energy cores and victory points. So you just pop it off like this, slide it open, and there you have your energy cores and victory points. So that's very cool. That goes over there. Then you've got another box. This is back to the original type where you just pop open the top. This holds all the pieces you need for the solo game, the Chronobot mode, and, well, I forget. Let's look. Oh, and all the dice and stands. So that goes in there. Very nice. And then you close that up. Let's see, what's next? These are the cards that you use throughout the game that usually have to be stacked up on the side. Now you've got a lovely place to hold them. The resources and the available workers and the winning conditions. And then these are for if you want to draft starting resources at the beginning of the game. You have that there. And this also has the nice little legs on the side that allow you to stand it up during the game and play right out of it. That's very cool. So I have that. Then we're getting close to some of my favorite stuff. Let me show you this guy. This is really cool. So I like this box a lot. This is a box that holds all the workers in the game. You see, you got your scientists, your scientists, your engineers, your administrators, and your geniuses. And it has, again, a nice little hinge on the side. So you open this up, right? And you've got the dudes in there, and then you take this top piece off, and you get more dudes. So you can put one on each side of the table. It gives you lots of space to hold all of your workers. And this fits right in there like that. Nice and cozy. I'll be talking more about that later. Then you've got another really cool one. I gotta be careful with this one. This is the main resource tray. This is really cool. So you pop the lid off of this carefully. I'll be talking more about this later too. Oh, please don't be an epic explosion of it. Okay. So that comes off, and you've got the the resources there. And then you can take this off, and you've got another tray of resources. So 2 lovely trays of all the resources that you need. Now, if you wanted to put the cardboard chits in here too, you could, but I don't think it was intended for that. I think it was based on the dimensions, and it was intended for these guys. So And that goes back together. And they're designed so that they both sit flush. You can't see that because, well, just cause. But they both sit flush on the table. See, this one's got some legs on it back there. And then the legs sort of tuck into the back when you close it up here, like so. And then this goes back on the front. Very nice, very cool. Definitely keeps those secure. Then you've got just a little container to hold the various hex tiles that you have. It's pretty straightforward, nothing special there. Then you have also not super special, this is just all the buildings that you use in the game. So you could play right out of this, which is nice. Everything's fine. How are you? That's good. We're just gonna move this over here. All right. Why would I edit that out? Huh? Where would the fun be in that? Everything's good. We're just gonna put this over there. You don't need to see that. Okay, that's fine. Everything's fine here. Nothing happened. Do I always drop something in the So anyways, then you've got this sweet little ditty. This holds 3 different things. It holds all of the timeline tiles for the game, right? It's got a nice little holder for that. It holds all the super projects, which are a key component to the game, and it's got a little space that holds all them there. But it also holds all the paradox tokens. It's got a little tray here that kind of pops open like this, and then it has all of the paradox, right? Cool. Yeah. And then this slides back in there. And so you've got that piece. And then last but not least, technically second to last but not least, you've got the player trays. So each player tray, this one really is the best, I think. So each player tray is sort of closed up by the player board, the path board, which then you can pop it open and you have the cards for that faction. Then underneath that, you've got the first player token flag for that faction. You've got all of their warp tiles. Let me get this closer. You got all the warp tiles in there. You've got the original mechs. So if you didn't get the Kickstarter fancy stuff, then instead of having, of course, it's the very last one. There we go. So instead of having this dude for the Path of Salvation, which I'm holding, to put your guys in, you would instead just have these hexes. I know, right? The mechs are totally unnecessary to the mechanics of the game, but they're sexy, so of course you want them. And then you got your free action tokens up here. So all of this fits in here, including the sliders for your path for getting victory points for timelines and stuff. So you have that, and there's one of those for each of the factions, and those stack up nicely. So technically that's last, but here's what's really last. This is the Evacuation Tile. They didn't make a place for it. When I was all over and done with, this was slight disappointment, just slight, right? I was like, oh, they didn't put a place for this, so I just kind of shoved it under everything else, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. They didn't make a place for the score pad either. And I know these sound like nitpicks, but the whole point of these things is that they make a place for everything. I mean, if you've seen the one for Caverna from Broken Token, they make a place for the score pad. Let me say this. I really like this. I'm so glad that there's a better storage. I had, 30 plastic bags holding all this together before I got this particular organizer. I do think that this is a very well-designed organizer. That said, it is not a well-made organizer. I have never, and I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to Broken Token because I have only done Broken Token organizers before this, and I've never had this experience with Broken Token. So here goes the comparisons, and I don't think they're unfair. I've never had to sand a Broken Token. I had to sand the hell out of this thing. Many of the surfaces were not fully finished. They were fuzzy, for lack of a better word. They weren't well done. The way they cut their pieces is inferior. I don't know anything about the process of Meeple Realty or Broken Token. The thickness of the stock is great. I have no problem with the thickness of the stock. The rules to put together the thing were very good. However, there's one thing they did that I really didn't understand and drove me nuts last night as I was finishing this up. It's this. This is nothing. This goes nowhere. It serves no purpose. What is this? What is this? You had no reason to include this in the box. It doesn't do anything. It's not extras for a particular part. It's not labeled to do anything. The pieces have no value. They just were there. So don't confuse me. Don't add an extra sheet of pieces to it that aren't necessary. Everything was cut the way it was supposed to, but that being said, some of their designs, I think, were underthought. This thing was impossible to function in its original form. When I first put it together, it was easy enough to open. It is impossible to get that tray out without just throwing workers everywhere because the fit was so snug. So I sanded and I sanded and I sanded and it got better. But finally, a suggestion by Bridge, my good friend, that I put some wax on it. So what I did is I actually burnt a candle and I used the candle wax and I added wax to each side here and here and to the sides of this and to a little bit to the teeth here. Not a lot, just enough to sort of impregnate the wood so that now when you put this in, it actually slides in and out very easily. But you might even be able to see the wax a little bit on there. But how is anybody to know that? If Bridge hadn't mentioned it, I would have never thought of it, and this would have seemed useless. You saw how much trouble I had opening the resource tray. I still just haven't waxed this because I wanted to get to making this video. But this is scary to open. It's actually pretty hard to do. This one comes off okay, but once you get down here, this is pretty hard to get open without throwing pieces all over the place. So I actually do hold Meeple Realty responsible for that. You have to, if you're going to make these designs, and if it needs wax, if it needs some sort of sanding, I think you need to tell people that. I did glue everything, which I think is wise, period. I know Broken Token sometimes says maybe you won't need to glue things, but if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. I'm just astounded at how much. So this took me over, it probably took me over 10 hours to build this this organizer. That's a ton of time, and I don't regret it. I do enjoy building these things, but I don't like feeling like I'm kind of in the woods and I'm not sure whether I'm doing the right thing or how much I should sand or whether or not something's going to break when I'm putting it together because it's so iffy. There was a lot of bending and flexing and weirdness. This was actually one of the tougher things to put together because there's not a whole lot there to sort of hold things where they're supposed to be. Also, the illustration didn't indicate that there was these big spaces in the tray in between. The best way, when it came time to put all the pieces in to the game, I had to go to their website and look at the pictures of it in order to see where things would go. There are many places where there are burn marks that you can't get rid of, or I didn't notice till I had already assembled something and now I'm stuck with it. And never had a burn mark on a Broken Token. So here's an example. There's burn marks and bits all about. There's the finish of the edges comes off very easily, which you can see, for example, where am I looking? So right there, you can see the finish coming off there. You can see anywhere I had to work it a little bit to get things to do what I wanted them to do, the finish is coming off. Slivers. I actually did get a sliver working on this last night. I was doing surgery on my pinky to get rid of a sliver that I got while sanding. I also had to sand both of these. The lids teeth needed to be sanded down enough to get it to actually be able to open without throwing things everywhere. This had to be sanded down so that it would stop sticking as if it was a permanent inclusion in the set. Just a lot of that. When you punch out the Meeple Realties, I was constantly concerned I was going to break them because they were so hard to get out. The wood was just flexing left and right. And almost every piece that comes out with a sharp splinter of wood hanging off of a corner or a joint piece. It's just, there's so many. Look at the wood. Look at the bits. They've got imperfections and such in the wood. I've never seen that from the other company I keep mentioning. And how hard it is to get. So here's a good example of how hard it is to get things out. Right? Was that not terrifying just now? This isn't even a piece I need, and I still had a little moment of, oh God, what have I done? So if I pull this out and show you the death stick that's connected to every piece when you pull it out, and then it's a matter of breaking all these off, and then it's not even, so before you go to make it, you got to grab your sanding sheets and you sanding film, sanding paper, whatever you have, and sand that down. It was a little stressful. So yeah, many hours to build it, and if you have that time and you're a completionist and you're willing to spend, I think it's $60, so $60-$70, almost as much as the game over again to get this, then yes. If any of that turns you off, then no, you should not get it. That's it. Meeple Realty's Anachrony Time Capsule. The design, high scores. The functionality, high scores. The implementation and the construction, low scores. So, feel free to leave your comments. Thanks, guys. I will see you on BoardGameGeek.com. I always say see you on the Geek in case you don't know what that means. It's BoardGameGeek.com. So I'll see you on the Geek. Take care.